Lisa, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to Watch Us Thrive.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm super excited to have you on. I checked you out, caught a couple of your IG lives, which I love, especially the one that you did with your partner recently.
Yeah.
That one was amazing. So before we even get started and dive deep, I always have each guest come on to introduce themselves in your own words. Who is Lisa Dominguez?
I am pretty much a lot of things. I am CEO and founder of my business, very successful spa, and it's SpaO and SpaO on the go. I am an amazing mother of two, of a blended family, an amazing relationship after a lot of trial and error of learning how to figure that out. And I am into environmental humanity. I am here to service the world. That's really who I am. I'm here to service in whatever way I can. I'm just excited that I'm not a service provider anymore because I used to identify that way, but it's like, no, I'm so much more than that. I am a founder, a mother, and I am a business coach, and I'm here to inspire the world. I really am.
Yes, and I definitely want to dive into the entrepreneurial aspect, but that's a little bit later on. I want to get real deep real quick. So every single guest that comes on the show, I always start off with going back to childhood and adolescence. So I want to know, you share as much or as little as you're comfortable with talking about, but tell my audience, what was life like for baby Lisa? And were there any really big moments in your childhood that really affected you that you're willing to share with my audience?
I grew up literally from when I was born inside of a hair salon. I mean, not literally. My mom, her water broke right on Fifth Avenue. I was born in Manhattan. I just grew up in a hair salon. So that was really me. So, you know how people have those aromas that, oh, I remember my childhood. For me, it was relaxer, blow drying, that heat smell. That's my childhood aromatherapy smell. I want to say that you can't remember when you're a baby, but I was told that I was really shy, reserved. But as I grew older and what I could remember, when I was 9 years old was the first time that I got sexually assaulted. It took me years to talk about this because when you hear certain stories, that actually changed my life because I never saw a man the same again after that. I guess from that point, one, you don't say anything, right? Because then I just felt like we don't speak about this stuff. I felt like he's going to say I'm lying. And then I was shy. So then I didn't want to be blamed for something that did happen and make it seem like it wasn't. From that point forward, it changed my whole perspective of life as such a young girl. But at that point, it was mostly a moment of this is what happens, I guess, to women. I really felt that. And he was 19, I think, around that age. So it's, oh, this is how this behavior is, that age and that machismo and that swag in a way, because that's how I identified him. Everyone I saw was like, oh, they're like that. It took me a long time to realize because I have older brothers who are really great. I had a lot of juggling thoughts in my mind because it's like, well, they've never done that to me. They seem to be really great. And then fast forward, when I was 12, something else happened to me. There was this one guy from school. He was older too. He was, I think, 18, maybe 19 as well. This is when I knew it wasn't right. And my brothers weren't maybe who I thought they were or men were that way. But this gentleman, and I found out later on in life that he did this to many girls in middle school. And again, since we don't speak about it at the time, we could have probably stopped that behavior. But I really believed him. I believed that he was going to get me ice cream and, oh my gosh, you're Juan's sister and this and that. And then you get into this room and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It was really real. He completely went down on me and I was shocked. That has never happened to me. So, when they say like, you pop your cherry, I really was popped. I was ashamed. I walked home and I was like, what just happened? But
You knew it wasn't right.
yeah, I knew it wasn't right. The manipulation of it. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to get ice cream. Typical young stuff that a 12-year-old wants to do. And then we get there and he's like, oh, here's a little water. And then he starts kissing. And I'm like, I literally froze. Oh my God. And then at the same time, it's so weird. And now I'm 39, sexually active, obviously. So it almost felt like it was hurting. It was uncomfortable, but moments did feel good. Oh, so it's like that part of the thing.
Yeah.
So that was my experience when it came to sexual abuse, right? And there was time that I wanted to share because, oh my God, I heard someone got raped. So I felt like my story wasn't strong enough to even share. But again, that was my story and I could have shared it, but I felt like, oh no, it wasn't that bad. I didn't have anyone run a train or beat me up or it wasn't that way.
Right.
But it doesn't matter what way it is, it's still wrong.
Yes, absolutely. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's not easy to talk about, and I do have uncomfortable conversations on this podcast, but I think it's important to speak up and share the experiences that we've gone through because so many people have gone through so many similar experiences. And in that moment, and I'm sure you felt that way in that moment, that oh my God, I'm the only person going through this. And then all those feelings of shame and guilt and embarrassment and confusion, this is not right, but it also felt good at the same time. And that's your body's natural response to an act like that. It's mind fucking for you to be able to openly express it in a way that it makes sense for other people. I really appreciate you just being so forward with that. So thank you for sharing that. I want to ask, did you ever tell anyone that you knew? When was it that you finally decided to reveal what happened to you?
It's crazy because I am not emotional, but this is deep stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a big scar. Of course, I've told my cousin, but I never said it in this specific way when it happened to me when I was 9 and who it was. Just 2-3 years ago, I started being open about this. But then I told you just now the story, and my man, I told him like specifically how it happened. And I'm like, oh, wow, like that really happened. Because I've never said it out loud. So it was like, ooh, I actually thought about it the other day and I was like, oh my God, I would never want to tell my mom. Even till this day, I'm still like, oh my gosh. But when I was 12, that incident, that was horrible. So the guy that he was doing this to other girls, I guess he would talk about this in school. And my brother heard, no, his friend overheard and he's like, oh, I think he's talking about your sister. And he's like, what? So he actually physically beat him up and he went to court and everything from hurting him so bad. And then it was like, ugh, but it was still like another moment of that happened. It was exposed. Now it's in court. And why? I didn't go to court because I wasn't part of the fight. Then my family knew, but no one said anything to me. Ooh, girl.
That's like another layer of trauma on top of trauma.
Now I'm embarrassed. I'm exposed. This happened months ago. Now he's in trouble because of me. That's how I saw it. No one said anything till this day. Never was that a conversation. When I moved out of my house, I was 18, maybe 19. I was so angry. It was like something that happened with my little sister that I was taking care of her. And then I told my mom, oh yeah, because something where I said, I brought that up. Like, oh, because you never even asked me. And she's like, oh, well, what else happened? It's like, well, I'm not going to tell you now. I'm ready to get the hell out of this house. But I did leave and that was never spoken again. Mm-hmm. But I've been open like this in the past few years to talk about it. And I've shared this with my close friends and close family and certain clients of mine on this level. It's been a year or so, a year and a half. When I did empowerment launch, that's when I literally said it. And my aunt was there, my mom was there, but my mom didn't speak well English. So I don't think she understood the level, which I was kind of happy about.
And that's the thing about trauma, right? Even if you feel it's been so long and you've healed from it, there's always moments that it's going to come back up. And that is really when the healing can happen, when you acknowledge the trigger and you're like, shit, I'm really not over this yet. And I feel like for me personally, when we do have these conversations and when we share these experiences, it definitely does help with the healing process because we're so used to keeping shit bottled up, sweeping shit under the rug, pretending like it didn't happen, especially in our communities of color. What happens in this house stays in this house, and you don't talk about the shit that you went through with other people because you don't want judgment and chisme and all this bullshit that comes with being a Latino, right? In order for us to break down those barriers and heal that generational trauma, we have to talk about it. We have to give it a voice, give it a face, give it a name, give it a description. We have to talk about it so we can be like, this is not fucking normal. I don't know what you went through growing up and what you experienced, but what I went through, this is not fucking normal. And we're not going to continue perpetuating this cycle of abuse and keeping it fucking quiet because you're uncomfortable with how it sounds. Thank you so much, seriously, for sharing that because I know it's uncomfortable and I know it can be triggering, but I really feel personally my mission in having this podcast and this platform is to have these uncomfortable conversations because they're happening way more often than we care to talk about. But we're going to talk about it here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm for it. And that's why I'm excited. Like once I read your bio, I was like, oh, okay, I go there. So I'm open to it because one, stood quiet for too long. You're dealing with other things you're learning throughout the process.
Absolutely.
So it's like, oh, now this is coming up. I've done the work and I've done a lot of work, which is great. And that's part of talking about it. But it's still those other layers. We could say this to people who understand, but how about the people that were part of that?
So let me ask you while we're still on this topic before we move on. For anyone who's listening right now and has gone through a similar experience or any kind of trauma that they went through, I like how you mentioned that you felt like your trauma wasn't that serious. And I feel like a lot of people have that same type of mentality, like owning own your trauma, whatever it is that you've gone through. It was significant enough for you. It's that serious for you. So don't gaslight yourself out of it. Don't downplay it. Your trauma is your trauma. What would you say to someone who's listening who may have felt the way that you did, that you were scared to speak up, that you were scared to let someone know what happened? What would be a piece of advice that you would tell them in order to start healing from whatever it is that they've gone through?
I would definitely tell them to go to a hotline who's actually an expert in speaking
Yeah.
to someone about that trauma. To go to someone that you know personally, it might be harder for them to even
Yeah.
hear it. I think first it would be like the hotline on that specific trauma. You actually will feel safe and you will feel heard
Yes.
versus like someone's going to base it off of their emotion of, oh, they hurt this person. And they won't tell you that they love you and that they care about you and that they're so upset. They're just going to go straight to the source. So definitely the hotline, I think, would be ideal of that specific trauma. We have so much support. And there's so many people like yourself. You have this platform. Imagine those people that have those organizations.
Yeah.
There is that for that it's formative for them. So definitely that first, and then slowly getting advice and guidance from them on who's the next person, right? Because some people are like, oh, tell your parents. It just depends who you're close with, who's your guardian, who you're comfortable with, and they'll guide you. I've never gone to any of them, but I've done a lot of volunteer work in domestic violence shelters, and it's like, wow, that's like amazing resource that I wish I had. So definitely going straight to the resource. They know what you're feeling. They've probably gone through it, or they're trained to speak to people that have gone through trauma.
For sure. And we'll definitely leave information in the episode show notes for resources. There's so many hotlines out there and so many places locally in your own town. It's just a Google click away. So absolutely, I agree 100%. And for me, I would say, also piggybacking on what you said, feeling like it is okay to speak up, even if you're scared, even if your abuser threatened you to be like, if you say something, I'm going to do XYZ to you. It's just a manipulation tactic to keep power and control and fear over you. Speak up. I know it's uncomfortable. I know you're scared, you're sad, you're embarrassed, you feel shame, all of these things. But the minute that you speak up, that is you taking your power back. And for me, when I left my abusive relationship, I didn't tell anyone until my life was almost taken from me. And when I spoke up and let someone know what was going on, that's when the healing began. It was uncomfortable. It was ugly. Let me tell you something. If you really want to heal, it's not rainbows and butterflies. And I say this shit all the time. If you really want to do the work that people love to talk about, know that it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's not going to stay that way forever. And there's so much beauty on the other side of it. So use your voice to speak up. And if you're really ready to heal from whatever it is that you've gone through, just know that you don't have to do it alone.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you say that it's okay to talk about it. And yeah, it's not going to be rainbows and butterfly at all. And I always go back, and I talk about this in a lot of my workshops, where I remember going to retreats the first time I ever went to a retreat. And that was the beginning of my healing process years ago. I went there 3 times. So there was twice where I was broken. And that was the beginning of the healing, but it was great. The release. The second time, same thing. Third time, wow. It was magical because I went after a few years, it was spread out. It's almost because of the work and who you shared it with and letting go. I went into the same exact place, that retreat. Oh my gosh, this place is beautiful. Mind you, it was exactly the same when I went the first time, second time. But for some reason, I saw it with a different lens. Right before I was going to put my luggage down to stay for the weekend, I said, I deserve to be in a place like this when I'm happy and not broken. And that just changed me on another level. We don't just need to go to these places to do the work, but we also need to go back and smell the roses. Wow, I did that. And I was like, wow, I remember I cried all weekend and getting my own answers and connecting, but then going back and seeing things in a different lens from doing that ugly work. That was intense. The intensity of that. I think that even created me to be more angry and upset with people the first time. Oh my God, what happened?
Mhm.
Like,
Yep. And I
because
think the key word that I heard you say is you let go. And I think that is so powerful because I don't know about you, but I am a fucking control freak, type A. Like I want shit my way. And if it's not done my way, I'm pissed. But when it comes to the personal development journey and healing and really doing the work, like we said, you have to let go of these expectations of what you think it's going to be and really submerge yourself in the moment and just be there in it. And then you'll be able, like you said, have this different viewpoint of, oh shit, I'm not looking at it this way that I was looking at it for 30 something years of my life. Now I'm really starting to understand why shit has happened the way that it has. And my role is whatever it is I have gone through in my life and just being able to let go and just be in it.
yes. And that's why a lot of people I find don't like to be alone because they find that they're going to have to go in deep.
Oh, girl,
And that's part of the work, you
that's part of
know,
the work.
because then people get distracted. So they don't think about that. So they don't think about
Mm,
the work that has to get started. But
come on.
dealing with self is the beginning, true self.
Yo, I just got like full body chills right now. I'm reacting that way because that is the season that I'm in right now. Since I left that abusive relationship in March of 2021, I have consciously removed myself from the dating scene, completely celibate, nothing whatsoever for almost 2 years, and really just been submerged in me, in self, in figuring out why was it that I kept attracting this type of toxicity in my life. Because even before that relationship, I was in another toxic abusive relationship. And before that, it was another toxic abusive relationship and even situationships in between. It was just the same toxicity, but in a different person. And I was that type of girl that used other people to distract me from going within, using sex and partying and all the cliche shit that we do, the toxic shit that we do to not really heal from the shit that was deep down in here. And that isolation and that seclusion that I've been on for almost 2 years, Lisa, if you knew me 2 years ago compared to who I am today, yo, who the fuck is this girl?
Yeah,
And I love that for me so much, but it's also been the hardest fucking journey that I've been on in my life.
I
And I'm
believe.
sure you can relate.
Of course. Like you said before, it won't be like that forever. It
Yes.
just will not. And there is no timeline to say, oh, in 12 months. Oh, no, there's no timeline. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to push through because life is always going to happen.
Yep.
So, yeah, we would love for it to be in 6 months or whatever, 3, 6, 12 months. But life happens. There has to be a priority because we're not going to be a robot and just focus on healing every single day, 24 hours a day.
Right.
We have to
Mm-hmm.
focus and say, okay, in this year, I want to work on this. And everything that you come around, the people you will attract 2 years ago, different person. Yeah, because you
Mm-hmm.
change that. Change happens gradually.
This is why we're having this conversation because we attracted each other with our energy, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm so here for it, girl. Shout out to your cousin. She put in a good recommendation. I'm like, yes, this is the vibe. All right. So I want to talk about something that you wrote when you filled out to be on this show. And I have it verbatim, so I don't fuck it up, but I really want to dive deep in it. So you wrote, I have learned that suppression of traumas is deadly, and I nearly became an alcoholic without the tools needed to heal from past experiences. I found a retreat center and it changed my life with all the knowledge I didn't have access to before. So I would love to know, we talked about it briefly, but let's dive into it. What was that aha moment for you when you realized some shit has got to change? And talk about how alcohol was playing a role in your life prior to that healing journey.
I guess for me, I never played victim. I actually overly helped people. And that was my distraction. I just felt like, oh, you need help? Okay, I'll help you. I'll help you. And it was like, oh man, obviously fast forwarding now, I know that I'm here to serve, but it has to be prioritized. So I was getting pulled, I felt, because I allowed to be taken advantage of because I did want to help everyone that came my way, but I wasn't helping myself. So with the overwhelm and the relationships I was in too, I felt that I attracted those relationships. I was in a domestic violence relationship. That just followed from everything else, from not talking about what happened to me, how my family handled that physically with the guy, and nothing said to me, to then not trusting men, but jumping into a relationship. And it was, don't touch me like that. Of course, someone's going to react when you're reacting that way. Not that it's okay for a man or a woman to put hands on each other, but there was many times where I could have said it differently and shared. It's just so many layers. Okay, that happened to me. Now I'm in this relationship and now it's physically hurting each other, verbally hurting each other. And for me, I always worked a lot, overly compensated with work. That was my escape. And then as soon as I was so exhausted from work and people in general, I'm like, this shot right here, it just calmed me down. So
Mhm.
knowing that and what that provided for me, I really in time partied a lot. I just needed a hug. I needed to be loved. I needed to be told that I was great because I am. And I was. I didn't believe it. I thought everything was happening to me on purpose and it wasn't. I say borderline, right? Because I didn't need it to wake up. I didn't need it to live, but it was on my mind every day. Oh,
Mm.
I need that drink right now. That will be a perfect time. Oh, as soon as I'm done with work, I'm going to hit this bottle real quick. It wasn't like I drank alone, but yeah, there was many times that I'm like, oh, right before I meet up with someone, I'm going to hit this up so I can just be relaxed.
Yeah.
So that was fine. But then there was a breaking point when I was in one of my relationships where, fast forwarding after kids and everything, it was just so intense being in that relationship. I felt like I needed to drink more. But that year, I noticed that since I was doing a lot of work, I was just mad at everyone. I was pissed at everyone that I met. I was pissed at everyone that was in my life who talked to me a certain way, who even looked at me a certain way. And I was very vocal about that. I don't like your attitude. I don't like that you did this. I don't like this, that. My oldest son, I was really aggressive with him, hitting him. And then I started hitting my youngest daughter. And then I started getting sick a lot. Every time I drank, I would throw up. So I would like tone it down. But it was still moments where there was one person, it was my brother's ex at the time. She's like, you don't notice that everyone you surround yourself, you end up being upset with them. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm just surrounded by the wrong people. And that's when, like, a few years later, I did a vision board and I am supported by the right people because I wasn't around the people that I needed support from. So I was angry and resentful to everyone around me. And they thought it was because I was drinking. But I was like, no, it's just you don't understand. We're not aligned. But understanding that part too, not that they drove me to drink, I drove myself to drink, but that part is serious too. Being
Yeah.
around people who don't understand you and just knowing the boundary. And I just said it the other day, boundaries are just gates. You can open them, put them halfway and close them and open them again. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're shutting off your family, but when I'm available to you and when I'm not, I shut it. When I'm available, I open again. I didn't know that. I didn't know what that was. So I was flipping out on everyone.
I love that analogy. I never thought of a boundary like that. And it makes so much sense. I think when people hear the word boundary, it's a hard stop. And it doesn't need to be that way. With some people, don't get me wrong, they need to be kicked to the curb and I never want to see you again. But it doesn't always have to be that.
Not a wall. My man just told, when I was explaining that, he was like, it's not a wall. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
you got it. It's not a wall. I don't
Yeah.
need to put this wall up. So it was mostly at that point, I think it was 2018 or maybe 2017. I was just mad at everyone I was around. And then I was going through a lot of financial things, the second breakup with my daughter's father, and just all these things. And no one asked me, are you okay? Do you need help? Nobody. That's when I started isolating. The isolation was just so good because I felt like I could think and breathe easy. I wasn't even breathing, just going, going, going. And this is not normal.
Yeah.
This isn't normal. It was mostly around that time when that one woman said, everyone that you're around, you're just always upset with them. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to reevaluate this because I'm allowing whatever I'm feeling. Me, no one else. So that getting sick from drinking so much was what really made me think like, but I got smart with it. I was like, oh, maybe I should do one until I started to say, okay, I could shut this down. I don't have to drink every day or every other day, or as soon as I'm upset, let me get this drink to calm me down. No, I need to be self-disciplined. I'm such a disciplined woman. Why is that any different? Because we always talk about, oh, because that's not me, or I am this way. I am that way. So why am I allowing this alcohol to control me? It was my excuse to flip the fuck on you. That's not healthy.
No, I appreciate you sharing that because it even makes me think back to my own relationship with alcohol. And I think that's another topic that people don't like to talk about a lot, right? They don't like to talk about the unhealthy healthy relationship that you can have with alcohol. And that is literally what I had, not with my last relationship, because that was such a quick relationship, but I was in an 8.5 year long soul draining relationship, breakups to makeups and just a lot of bullshit. Thinking back now, our relationship when I was with that individual was so based around alcohol. A lot of our fights were when we were drunk, and a lot of our interactions when we would have fun was based around going out and partying and getting drunk and blacking out and being hungover the next day. The type of people that you surround yourself with, it really does say a lot about the season that you're in your life, right? Truth be told, I've been completely sober, and it's not like I made a conscious decision to be like, I'm done with alcohol. No, if I ever do want to have a drink again, I will. But I just realized now in the season that I'm in, I feel so healthy inside. And I know that I was not a healthy person back then, and alcohol played a huge role in that. I can't even remember the last time I had hard liquor. I can't even remember the last time I had wine, but I just know that my relationship with alcohol and the people I was surrounding myself with made me such a toxic person.
Yes. So you get it. You get
I
where,
get it.
and that comes from our not healing and not dealing with
Mhm.
it with the right people. And you know what's interesting? That relationship I was in almost 9 years or so, we were always drunk together. I was the one that got more drunk and was more vocal
Yeah.
because I had so much inside. Oh my God. It was this big fire of disaster.
Yep.
And he said, you have this business that you're growing and this and that, and you need to act a certain way. That's when I was like, I am a human being, for goodness sakes.
Right.
Why are you putting me in this category just because I have a business? So someone
Mhm.
can't go through something because they have a successful business. That is why my business has been successful, because of everything I suppressed and I put my heart into it. Once he said that, though, it made me think, wow, this is probably how everyone sees me. I'm not even a person. So, I mean, obviously, I made the decision really fast after that conversation to get out of it. And thank God, I made some really great decisions throughout my life, slow and steady,
Mhm.
but they got done. Yeah, it was just interesting to hear that. And let me tell you, with my mate now, I said something to him. I said, you know, I can't wait till I retire. Just not going to ever drink again. And I'm just doing meditation all day. Like that's when my kids have their kids. And he's like, but why do that then? Let's do it now. Let's do this toxic thing to detox. And he actually suggested from that conversation, I told him afterwards, I'm like, was it what I said about alcohol and my relationship? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And we did 100-day without alcohol. That was back
Wow.
in September, and we were able to drink now, January 3rd. And it was the best thing. I
Mm.
wasn't even keeping count. I'm good.
You see what happens when you change the company that you keep around you? I really want that to be the driving force. I'm getting close to the mic, y'all. Y'all gonna hear this, okay? Before we move on to the next topic. But
Yes.
the company that you keep really can make or break the way that your life is. Some people fall off the wagon, and this journey is never linear. There's always going to be setbacks and bumps in the road and shit. But if you have the right type of people around you to check you and be like, listen, you're starting to revert back a little bit to the toxicity that you're trying to get away from. That's the kind of people that you need in your corner, not the people that are going to enable you to continue the fucking cycle of bullshit that you've been doing your whole life. So shout out to your boo. That gives me hope. One day when I decide to find my mate, I'm going to find someone who is aligned with me and the person that I am today. There's still good men out there.
Oh, no, there is. And I was very intentional. That's my baby.
I'm here for it. I love the energy that you guys had. I caught your live. I think it was a couple weeks ago, and y'all just seem so connected and it
Yeah.
seems genuine. So I'm like, yes, they're giving me hope that I'm going to
Yes.
find my
Yes.
person one day. I'm putting it out there. Okay.
Yes.
But I'm not in a rush. So now let's shift into business mode. I want to have a little bit of entrepreneur talk because you are a boss. You have your own spa and beauty business. And I would love for you to talk about how that came to be.
So, I mean, I pretty much grew up in a beauty salon because my mom, she's done hair since before I was born, Dominican Republic. Then she migrated to New York with my siblings. Then I was born. First generation girl. I was firstborn generation here. I'm very proud to say that. Being first generation, one, I didn't speak English. Can you believe that? I was born in the United States, New York, for goodness sakes,
Yeah.
Manhattan, the capital of the world. And did not speak English. So I
Wow.
take much pride in saying that because I grew up in a household only speaking Spanish, low income, figuring it out. My mom is literally my hero because she had her salon in Washington Heights, New York, uptown. And from there, years later, we moved to Jersey and she opened up in Fairview, New Jersey. And that's when I was scared for her. I was like, oh my gosh, are you going to understand people here? A lot of people speak English here. She's like, no, we're going to be fine. Vamos a estar bien. I'm like, okay. So I actually helped her. There was a lot of time that I would go after school. I would go on the weekend. I was the assistant slash translator. So before bill pay, I like to share this because before bill pay, we were making calls to pay her credit card and do this. And I was literally running the business with her from the
Yeah.
internally, but I loved it because I'm very organized. So I just loved helping her and translating and the fact that I was helping. And I pretty much was like, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up a nail salon. And she's like, why? Why a nail salon? I was like, because I just don't like the nail salons that we go to. They were like Asian based and it's like quick, quick, quick and go. I want to make an experience. And this is me talking mad shit at that time. So fast forward, I got into yoga, meditation back before it was a trend. I just said, I am going to do this. I was selling cars and I was top 3 saleswoman of 20 people that were in the dealer. Then I got pregnant with my son. So I can't sell cars forever. They're long days. So it was just one day I wrote down a few things that I wanted to be when I was a little girl. And I said, I wanted to be a model. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a nurse. So I researched each one. And I researched what they do every day. I was literally envisioning myself being a teacher, going into the school every day and dealing with these little fuckers. The one that stood out to me the most was becoming a nurse, because again, I am such a giver. I love serving the world. So I was like, maybe I should be a nurse because I'll take care of people, this and that. But then I was like, damn, but to go in every day and take their blood pressure and this, and there's going to be great days, but really bad days. And I don't know if that's something I want to do every day. So in the internet, the little pop-ups, remember back in the day in the first, it had massage therapy. So there was a woman laying down and it said massage therapy school. And I was like, what is that? First of all, I've never even had a massage in my life. And I needed one because I was pregnant. I clicked on it, I saw it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it sounded beautiful to me. The holistic this. And I never took medication for anything. Like if I had a headache, ya tú sabes. So my hangovers were fucking rough the next day. Okay. No, I don't want to get accustomed to feeling better with painkillers or whatever. So I was like, oh my God, holistic this. I was sold, girl. Whatever that was, I was sold. So I fast forward that. I go to the school. And the guy asked me, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. This sounds like something I would do. It takes 6 months to get the license. I'm about to have this kid. Let's go. Long story short, girl, let me tell you, I sign up and I become a massage therapist. So 2 weeks in, this is beautiful. The music, the anatomy. And remember, I never wanted to be touched a certain way. So talk about full circle. Sometimes it's very emotional. I couldn't be touched a certain way. I was very defensive. Now I have the license to touch someone else to feel safe. It was just destined. My experience to this, my mission statement is that to empower people through the power of touch and skincare so they know what it is to have inner peace. And that's really how I started. From that point on, I graduated and I said, I'm going to go to skincare school, like cosmetology. They have the skincare course. I took it right after I graduated. I was on a mission. I was working at night, going to school in the day, being a mom, like it was a lot. And that's what I said. I'm going to open up a day spa. And I opened my first day spa in 2008 with a partner, which was my son's father at the time. And I left almost 9 years ago because the partnership wasn't working for me anymore. Even after we broke up, we were still in it. And it just wasn't working for me, just wasn't benefiting me. So I left and I launched SpaO on the go, which it was just me, girl, just me and my little luggage bag, my table, all over the place, all over tri-state. It's Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New York, everywhere you say, I was there. And that was almost 9 years ago. And then I had this opportunity with the building where I was just per diem. They were like, oh, can you just come in on the go? They would call me, everything was my business, me. It was just me. Can you have your business come and massage our residents? So that's where I am now, SpaO at Exchange. It's a beautiful facility. And after being there for a few years, I'm like, wow, my business is expanding. I should just propose this to them. Girl, I just gave them that proposal and they were like, oh yeah, you're good. I'm like, huh?
Yes.
It was just like, toma, 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 toma. And that's from letting go though. Letting go of everything healing, being honest about my healing, being honest what happened to me, and staying humble as I always have been. And here I am. It's how it really went down.
I'm so here for that story. Y'all can see I'm over here cheesing because I can just feel the energy and I just see the whole journey and how beautiful it was for it to be such a full circle moment. And I love the emotion that came up for you because it's just so real and authentic. It's healing for you,
It
right?
is.
And shout out to you for being in business and being successful and being a Latina and doing something that you love and helping people in the process. That really is the American dream, right? You were literally living it. So before we even continue, give yourself your flowers. I'm giving you the flowers. Shout out to you for being able to just do the damn thing. And even with the trials and tribulations that you've experienced, and being a business owner is not easy. I'm sure there's shit that you've dealt with in between, but you're still here and you're living in your purpose and you are inspiring listeners to be like, if she did it, I know I can do it too. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be things that are going to come up, but for you to be in this moment, shout out to you, Lisa, seriously, because you are such a fucking inspiration. And I'm so glad that me and you connected and we're having this conversation because it's going to help so many fucking people. I know it is. With that being said, I want to get a piece of advice for you for that aspiring entrepreneur who wants to do whatever industry that they're in. They want to get started, but they're scared. They're scared of letting go, all of that shit. What is one piece of advice that you would tell them in order to really start working towards their dreams of making it into a reality?
The number one thing is to really know that that's what they want to do, right? Because this makes money and I want to do this. Yeah, that sounds great. But like you said before, owning a business and having one is not easy at all. No matter what, if you're making millions, if it's just six figures or just barely making minimum, it's not easy either way. So
Yeah.
it's just knowing that you really want to pursue that because that's how you're going to be perceived for a long time.
Mm.
Rebranding is hard. Rechanging careers is hard. And I see a lot of people like, oh, I'm going to try this because that's the trend. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do this. And then it's like, you have to stay consistent. So it's before being consistent, make sure that that's what you want. And that's why I share my story of what I wrote. I said, I want to be these six things, but can I see myself doing that every day, waking up, getting ready and going physically to that place or that thing? Can I picture that? Can you picture that? Because that's how you know I could probably do this. So it's
Yeah.
really knowing because you have to know that you're going to enjoy it. Working is part of our life. We do more of that than anything else. I mean, until you reach a certain point of whatever your goals are. Because
Yeah.
I enjoy working. I love working. It's not that it's not work because it is, but
Right.
I love it being a businesswoman. So it's basically making sure that that's the thing. Even if you're in that thing that you don't like right now, do your research on what is the thing first. And do I really want that thing? To
Yeah.
then stay consistent. Because then it's the consistency of it, not flipping and flopping like, oh, I'm a realtor today. 6 months later, I'm a cleaning lady. No, people are like, she doesn't know or he doesn't know what they want. That's
Wow.
why.
I love your delivery. I love it. You're so like New York, New Jersey. You just tell it like it is, and I'm here for it. Because I'm the same fucking way. Make up your fucking mind, remember your why, and do the work. And don't think that it's going to come easy. But if you're intentional with the shit that's setting your soul on fire, it's going to work out one day. You just got to keep showing up.
And if you do happen to, let's say a year later, you're like, damn, I really found my passion. Instead of being a cleaning service, I found my passion in event planning.
Yeah.
Be honest about that. Hey guys, I'm transitioning out. This is what I'm doing and this is why. Because people want to know why. They don't want
Yeah.
just to see that you're flip-flopping here. Be honest if you will be rebranding. Why? People want to know why. And people want to know why the change on something so different. So it's just that honesty if you do decide, because we could always rebrand, but you have to be strategic about those things.
I love that. All right. So keep that coaching because you said you're a business coach. I want to get more gems out of you. So keep that head on. We're going to keep it to the entrepreneur life or the aspiring entrepreneur life. So many times, and I'm sure you've experienced this in your own career, that imposter syndrome, that scarcity mindset, those limiting beliefs, they come up from time to time. And I feel like, especially for the beginners, the newbies, I probably deal with imposter syndrome every single fucking day with this podcast.
Uh-huh.
But I don't allow it to completely stop me because I've just done too much work. I'm not going to fucking stop. But I want to know, what would be some advice that you would give, say, to a new entrepreneur that has those limiting beliefs that's really stopping them from continuing on the journey? How can we shift our mindsets to not allow that voice that we all have in the back of our head to control the way that we show up in our businesses?
The first thing would be the work, right? Why did that trigger you? Because it's not that, oh, shoot, can I really do this? Yeah, you thought it. That means you could. When you're thinking and doubting, there's something else deeper than whatever that is. That's totally different. For me, I opened my first spa when I was 23 years old. No one was going to stop me. How am I going to figure that? Who's going to do this? How do I get money? What are we doing? So if you think it, that means it's possible. It's just you. It's your way. It's your style. It's your delivery. That shouldn't stop you because someone else is doing it. That means that that other person that you're admiring or being jealous, because that's a thing, that means they put in more time. Their thing wasn't perfect when it first came out. So for me, I've never felt that, but I have felt it when I started the coaching. I'm like, wait, I do know what I'm talking about. People ask me all the time, but now it's going to be all formulated and strategic. And can I really do this? I started with zero. That comes up. But I'm like, no, if I did that with nothing, of course, I have to believe in myself. Look where I am. It's actually worked. If anything, it's going to help more people to not make those mistakes. So it's just like getting out of course, your own way and going deeper in. I personally want people before they start their business to speak to a life coach and be honest about what they feel, not about that they don't believe in themselves. No, because once you get rid of that, whatever is going on in here, then you'll be like, oh, I could do this. Speak to a life coach and be like, you know what? This happened to me when I was a teenager, or this happened to me after I gave birth. And is that normal? Talk about that. Because those things that you let go of, especially to a stranger that doesn't know you, they're just going to give you that perspective of what you need, the information you need. So you don't even have to do small talk. It's like straight to the target. Once you get through that, I feel like everyone should speak to a life coach before launching that business. Because those little things that you feel like, am I a normal mom? Am I a good friend? Have I been a bad daughter? That's what you need to get through first. Those little hurdles that do take away from believing, nah, I got this. Because if you think it, you could do it.
Yes, absolutely. And inaction is also action, right? So you putting up these excuses and putting up these walls like we talked about before and just saying, oh, I can't. You have that energy within you. That's what's going to happen in your outside world, whether it's personal or business or career or relation, like whatever the fuck it is. You have to do the work that we keep talking about and shift that mindset if you really want to elevate yourself and move in a different direction. The definition of insanity is doing the same shit over and over and expecting a different result. I don't think they said it that way, but I'm gonna say it that way. But it's true. If you continue moving in the same way and expecting some shit to happen, and that was me for the first 32 years of my life. Fuck, I'm at this job that I fucking hate, but I'm not leaving because I'm comfortable. Damn, I'm in this shitty ass relationship that I'm fucking miserable, but I've been with him for so long. So do I really want to start over? And then beating myself up for not moving along and feeling stuck. And bitch, like you said, you got to get out your own fucking way sometimes. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it's hard. But if you really want to move different, you got to move different. It's not Sunday, but we're definitely in church right now.
Yeah.
No, but I agree with everything that you said. And I really hope, especially for the entrepreneurs out there, if there's something on your mind, on your soul, on your spirit that is not going away, it's there for a reason. Stop fucking ignoring it. Stop making these excuses that, oh, I don't have the money. Oh, I don't have the time. Yes, the fuck you do. You just doing a lot of bullshit that you don't need to be doing. You're scrolling on social media. You're watching another Netflix show. You're hanging out with the wrong people. You're doing all this shit, using up your time when you could be pursuing that thing. And we all have it within us, but you got to make it a priority. You have to make it a priority. Not me, not Lisa, not Fulala or whoever the fuck is going to do it for you. It has to be you. Just stop with the excuses.
Yes. And deal with yourself. Be by yourself.
What would you say is your superpower?
My superpower is my touch. And that's not just with my hands. It's my touch with my heart.
I love that. I can feel that, honestly. And we've never met in person. This is our first time meeting face to face. I can just feel your energy and I feel it being genuine. I just want to say once again, shout out to your cousin for this connection because
Yes.
I'm just
Thank
loving this
you.
conversation.
Yes, yes.
So let me go to the opposite of that question. What would you say is something about you that still needs a little bit of work?
It's crazy because right now, right in this moment, I feel like it could possibly be wanting hard liquor because I feel that with parenting, I've done better. I've done the work for that with business. But after doing the 100 days, I almost didn't want to drink, even like, oh, we're going to celebrate. We did it. And I'm like, oh. But this weekend, we had shots and then I wanted more. Not that it was like a problem. We didn't get drunk, but I didn't feel good the next day. So I beat myself up about it. Damn, that's kind of whack. I got sick. I feel like when it comes to hard liquor or shots, because it's like fun, I'm past how I associate it with alcohol. I feel like it's more that, like, why do I have to have shots?
I appreciate the honesty. And like we said before, this journey is not linear. There's always going to be ups and downs and setbacks, and that's fine. But I think the self-awareness enough is beautiful that you're able to question it. And maybe one day you'll be able to dive a little bit deeper. It's like, why am I reacting that way?
Yeah.
You got this. I know you
Yeah,
do.
for sure. And it's interesting you just said that because when I mentioned it to my man Alex, I said, I don't know. I don't know why I should just not have any shots. He's
Mhm.
like, maybe just have the one before because I'm not into cocktails. So it's trying to figure out my social thing. But he said, no, this is good, the awareness that you're talking about. Because I'm like, why talk about this after? And he said that the fact that you're talking about it keeps you aware to figure that out. And I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you're right.
Another journey for you to take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I want to know what has been one of the hardest lessons you have learned as an adult?
To have high expectations of people because that's where the disappointment happens. In the past 2 to 3 years, so much happened. The hardest things that had happened to me was when I launched my skincare line and decided to leave my daughter's father. It was kind of, oh, you're too good for us now. Oh, you're too good for this. And I'm like, what? Again, I'm the one that has provided to give, to help, and pull people up with me. But once I realized it had nothing to do with me, that I'm like, oh, this is what people do. They bring
Yeah.
you down when they feel threatened or insecure. That was the hardest lesson for me because I felt so hurt. Oh my God, that's not even in my nature.
Yeah.
Expecting that everyone will be like me in the generosity of pure giving. That was the hard lesson for me because even with my own siblings, there's certain times that I do expect something back because that's who we are, right? We're
Yeah.
humans. And even with my own siblings, I was like, whoa, I remember I did that for you. And then when it came down to me and you're just kicking me out for your benefit, but then I saw where it came from. It wasn't intentionally to hurt me. It was just thinking of yourself, which we should. It just didn't come out right. So
Right.
those were hard lessons for me because I would never. I've actually struggled because I want to make sure that no one's going to struggle under my whatever. So my
Yeah.
hard lessons have been that it has been to not have that expectation that people will serve the way I serve.
Expectations lead to disappointments, and not having that thought that we talked about before, having this picture of what something is going to be, and then it doesn't go the way that you thought, that's what leads to the disappointment, right? So that's the first time I've heard someone answer that question that way.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing something different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That comes with time. And that's why I said where I am right now in my life, because those hard lessons, they're done. They're my past.
Well, I mean, I think that's the perfect segue to the next part of the question. So I want to know, since you're on the Watch Us Thrive podcast, what is your definition of thriving?
Thriving is you, yourself, inner self, pulling so hard. You know, when you do the tug of war, a fire. That's how I see thriving of whatever it is that I put my mind to. Oh, I have that fire right now because that's me pulling on what thriving is. And thriving is whatever it is that I want. What do I want today? day? What do I want this month? What do I want this year? I'm going to thrive to the point of whatever my desire is to get it.
I've never heard someone answer it that way. And I love the visual. Like I can see whatever it is that's inside of your soul, your heart, just giving it your all and showing up in your purpose. That is the definition of thriving in my eyes. I couldn't agree with you more.
That's why I say you got to push and pull through fire, right?
Come
You're going
on.
to be sweating,
Yes.
pulling, straining.
Don't let that go over your head, ladies and gentlemen. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
But it sure is worth it.
Go back to baby Lisa, whatever age comes up for you. Being the woman that you are today, what is one thing you would tell her?
Just be patient. You will get there. Believe it. The resources we had, it was nah. Where we came from? Nah.
Yeah.
That's not possible, quote unquote.
Look at me now. And give her a hug and a kiss.
Yes. A big hug, girl.
Yeah. All right. Final question before you plug in where we can follow you. What is an affirmation or a mantra that you practice daily and why?
So I have two because I do have my personal one and I have my business one.
Let's do the business one first.
The business one is I make money in expected ways and unexpected ways. I do.
Yeah.
Because when shit gets rough, when shit is like, oh, whoa, what's going on? Just get creative all of a sudden. And then boom, I just really go by that. It's like an affirmation. It's like, I make money in this expected way that it's expected, but also unexpected because of my creativity, because of how I pull into creativity, and that creates brilliance to be successful.
And the way you show up.
Yes, hell yeah. When you show up, dress how you want to be addressed. That's serious.
Yes.
You ain't leaving my house with sweatpants. Are you crazy?
Yep. You're not going to school in pajamas. We're not doing that over here.
Unless you want to be treated in this way.
Exactly.
Dress how you want to be addressed.
Yeah.
So, and then my personal one, no one can steal my peace without my permission. That's going to be on my shirt, by the way. I'm going to.
Yes. I love that. I need that on a hat like this.
Yes. No one can steal your peace without your permission. And I say that because mine was disturbed. There was this one interview I did maybe 2-3 years ago. That young girl is so lucky I was in that place. I actually saw her in me. I said, wow, whatever she's going through, I'm her punching bag right now. I was a punching bag for a long time. I'm just going to listen to her because clearly no one else is listening. Those are reminders of like, ooh, I've come a long way. Because I would have been like, excuse me? No one can see your peace without your permission, because whatever is going on, they're trying to trigger you has to do with them.
And nothing to do with you. And I think that's taking your power back, right? Especially for someone who was taken advantage of growing up and a people pleaser and all of these things. For you to be in that season of your life now, you're not going to fuck with me. Like, I'm not going to allow you to break me down because I've been broken down before. And just celebrating my growth and the beautiful goddess being that I am today. Clearly it's something about you that you got to work on, but I'm going to hold space for you to allow you to express yourself in a way, not judge you because I've been you.
Exactly.
What a beautiful way to end this episode. Lisa, let me just tell you something. I say this all the time, but I'm dead ass serious. This might be one of my favorite interviews that I've done to date because I just love the messaging that you bring. I love your vulnerability, your authenticity, your message and your spirit. I can just feel it through this computer screen. And I really just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing parts of your story. I know this is just the tip of the iceberg of who you are as a whole, but I really just want to say thank you. Thank you to your cousin for having this introduction. And I know people who are listening are really going to take away a lot of amazing gems that you drop. So please let my audience know, what are you working on? How can we follow you? Plug in your business.
Providing my personal services are Empowered with Lisa. That's the website, empoweredwithlisa.com. Handle is the same, Empowered with Lisa. And I do business coaching, self-love, and self-care coaching, because there's two different things. And I'm also going to be doing a mentorship program starting in April. And then my spa, of course, that's my baby. It's spaoonthego.com. And it's the same thing with the handle, SpaO on the go. And we do travel to offices. We do home spa parties. And we also have our parties at the spa. We offer scrubs, massages, facials, and waxing in our beautiful Secaucus location. It's inside a residential building. It's on the 4th floor. You have to come. There's an indoor pool, hot tub, and sauna. It's just really beautiful. Again, my mission is to empower everyone, people, through the power of touch and skincare, just so they can just feel their natural beauty, and natural beauty meaning natural, like no makeup, and their inner peace. That's really like a thing to heal.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
I've done a lot of healing, and through touch is really, really amazing. And that's just a little bit of where I am. And I am so thankful for this podcast, because when I originally read it, when Josie sent it, I said, oh, wow, that's right up my alley. And being Latina and speaking out, and also now speaking out in a way where I am successful. And for people to understand that that's okay, to be like, oh, okay, a lot of people listen and everyone's going through their journey. But let me tell you, sometimes you want to see the rainbow. And right now, I'm in that version of my life that I've been through the pain. I've been through that. I've been through the ugly shit. And it's now I'm like really reaping the fruit of my labor of
Yes.
pain. Not even
Yes.
success, but at least to hear this for someone who has a successful business, who did it with nothing, struggling, getting evictions, single mom, all the statistics to not make it out here. And here we are. So I feel like that's an inspiration, because you want to see people that look like us who are successful, not that we're just going through the trauma. Yes, it's important to hear those stories, and that's their story to share. Someone who's successful looks like you, been through that, been through the statistic of not being able to make it. That's not possible. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to have you guys feel great at the spa, feel it within first. You're unplugging when you're at the spa. When you're getting a massage or facial, you can't be on your phone, really. You're unplugging and you're starting to deal with yourself from the door, to then slowly, gradually then get advice with coaching, mentorship. But that takes time. But I'm here for it all. I'm here for whatever I can do to help. I'm very open to anything. And I really do genuinely love helping people. Anything that you need, you could DM me. It takes me a few days sometimes to respond. But now I have a link where people could go on Empowered with Lisa. You could set a 15-minute free consultation, or you can pay for a 30-minute consultation. So there is a way to get connected and speak, because sometimes you just want to talk to someone. And I'm for it.
I'm so here for it too. I'm going to definitely leave all of your information in the episode show notes. Once again, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing your story and being an inspiration. That's really the message behind Watch Us Thrive, not watch me thrive, watch us thrive. And I know that there's just so much more abundance and amazingness to come for you in your life. And I'm just here to watch the journey and celebrate you along the way. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm like so excited.